In the years since the terrorist attack on the World Trade Center, fear of Islam and Muslim culture has become widespread in American culture. This phenomenon is known as Islamophobia. In short, Islamophobia is the belief that all Muslims are terrorists and that Islam is not a religion but a violent ideology. Ultimately, those that can be classified as Islamophobic fear that Islam is a threat to Western culture. The fear of Islam has often presented itself in a violent manner, and not just on the side of the Muslims. Before 9/11, approximately 20 to 30 hate crimes were committed against Muslims per year. When compared to the average 130 to 140 hate crimes committed today, it is easy to see that this hatred of the Islamic culture has manifested itself in violence toward the American Muslim community. According to the Huffington Post, hate crimes are 5 times more likely today than before 9/11. Islamophobia is seen in threats against mosques, school harassment, and reports of Muslim American, Sikhs, people of Arab or South Asian descent being targeted. In addition to the physical threats of violence, the Islamophobia manifests itself largely through the media. According to BBC, around 7,000 tweets against Islam were sent out in English every day in July from across the globe. Of course, Americans have learned this fear and hatred from somewhere. The media plays a huge role in the American view of Islam and Muslim culture through both fear-mongering and over-coverage of events. Take, for example, these recent news clips.
Is there a Muslim problem in the world?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There is no doubt that millions of people are suffering from the rise of radical Islamic terrorism.
Violent and heinous terrorism.
Because there's a radical Islamic group of people that is brutal.
We know that authorities are saying that the attack seems to be linked to Islamic terrorism.
The fear-mongering starts with warrantless speculation. This is when anchors ask leading questions that insinuate and infer that events are connected to radical Islamic terrorism. When this happens, the entire conversation is dominated by the radical Islam group and potential terrorist groups. In 2010, 40% of news covering Muslims was negative. Furthermore, this number climbed by 2013 to 3/4 of the coverage being negative, usually in relation to terrorism or violence. Moreover, according to the FBI, only 6% of terrorist attacks in a 4-year period were committed by Muslims. This is in relation to the 81% of terrorists on television that are depicted as Muslims. In this, Muslims are also often portrayed in grossly overgeneralized stereotypes, such as the popular desert rat persona. Media does nothing to slow down the image of Islam as a violent religion, and instead, by continually asking the question, they perpetrate the stereotype. Of course, Islamophobia is also perpetrated by the fact that the media is often the only source of interaction that Americans have with Muslims. Due to ignorance and isolation, views of Muslim are negative. However, most Americans that have had interactions with Muslims have reported positive view of Muslims in general. While the reason for the increased Islamophobia after 9/11 is obvious, the recent increase may be harder to track. After 2001, 481 hate crimes were committed against Muslim Americans. In 2015, 260 crimes happened nationwide. While significantly less than the all-time high 2001 hate crime rate, this still boasts one of the highest rates yet. While not definitely tied to Donald Trump's campaign in the days directly following his announcement that he was running for presidency, anti-Muslim crime rose 87.5%. December 2015 alone saw 53 separate attacks. This is more than a third of the attacks that occurred in the entirety of the year. There is also speculation that in addition to Trump's campaign, the attacks in Paris and San Bernardino, California, may have also led to an increase in Islamophobic feelings.
Donald Trump became president on January 20th, 2017, and his opinions on Islam is mixed.
Do you think Islam is at war with the West?
I think Islam hates us. There's something there that there's a tremendous hatred.
President Trump isn't clear on what side he is on. One minute he says he loves Muslims, but then he believes Muslims hate us. In January 2017, he issued a Muslim ban on 7 countries.
I love the Muslims. I think they're great people. We problem in this country, it's called Muslim. We know our current president is one. Right. You know, we have training camps growing where they want to kill us. Mm-hmm. That's my question. When can we get rid of it? We're going to be looking at a lot of different things.
President Trump believes a solution to terrorism is by having a Muslim ban for all Muslims from the 7 countries and have extreme vetting for those attempting to enter the United States.
You say no Muslims can travel here from overseas. You're hurting the United States' position against ISIS. We need the friendly Muslim nations. You can't insult them like that. You can't.
Bill, I disagree. People have to be vetted. They have to be perfectly vetted.
You can vet them, but you can't insult the whole religion.